On June 25, 1950, North Korean forces crossed the 38th parallel, launching a full-scale invasion of South Korea. Armed with Soviet-supplied tanks and artillery, the North Korean People's Army, NKPA, quickly overran South Korean defenses. Within days, Seoul fell, marking the start of a brutal conflict that would draw in global powers. This surprise attack caught the world off guard, setting the stage for the first major armed conflict of the Cold War era. The United Nations Security Council convened an emergency session on June 27, 1950, just 2 days after the invasion. With the Soviet Union boycotting the meeting in protest over Taiwan's seat, the UNSC passed Resolution 82, condemning North Korea's aggression. This historic vote marked the first time the UN authorized collective military action. The resolution called for member states to assist South Korea, laying the legal foundation for international intervention. President Harry S. Truman made a pivotal decision to commit U.S. forces to Korea without a congressional declaration of war, calling it a police action. On June 30, 1950, he authorized General Douglas MacArthur to use ground troops. This move came just hours after the UN passed Resolution 83, recommending military assistance to South Korea. Truman's decision reflected Cold War tensions and America's policy of containment against communist expansion in Asia. On July 7, 1950, the UN established a unified command under U.S. leadership, with General MacArthur as Supreme Commander. The UN command headquarters in Tokyo coordinated multinational forces from 16 nations. This unprecedented military coalition operated under the UN flag but was predominantly American in composition. The creation of this command structure represented a new chapter in international security cooperation during the emerging Cold War. By late July 1950, the first UN contingents began arriving in Korea. British forces from Hong Kong were among the earliest, followed by Australian, Canadian, and Turkish troops. These multinational forces landed at Pusan, the last major port held by South Korea. Despite language barriers and different military doctrines, these diverse units would soon form a cohesive fighting force against the North Korean advance. From August to September 1950, UN and South Korean forces made their stand at the Pusan perimeter, a 140-mile defensive line. Outnumbered and under constant attack, the defenders held critical ports and supply routes. The successful defense, supported by U.S. air power and naval artillery, bought time for the preparation of MacArthur's bold counterstroke. This desperate holding action proved multinational forces could work effectively together under extreme pressure. On September 15, 1950, UN forces executed one of history's most daring amphibious assaults at Inchon. Despite treacherous tides and fortified defenses, U.S. Marines secured the beachhead. This operation, personally championed by MacArthur, cut North Korean supply lines and forced their rapid retreat. The success at Inchon demonstrated the UN command's strategic flexibility and marked a dramatic turning point in the war's early phase. Flushed with success after Inchon, UN forces crossed the 38th parallel into North Korea in October 1950, with official authorization from the UN General Assembly. The original mission of repelling the invasion had transformed into one of reunification. As UN troops advanced toward the Yalu River, they encountered increasingly stiff resistance and harsh winter conditions, unaware of the looming Chinese intervention that would change the war's course. In late October 1950, massive Chinese forces secretly crossed the Yalu River, entering the war on North Korea's side. By November, they launched devastating attacks against overextended UN troops. The Chinese intervention forced a grueling UN retreat from North Korea, with particularly brutal fighting at the Chosin Reservoir. This escalation transformed the conflict into a direct confrontation between Western powers and Communist China. By 1951, the war settled into a bloody stalemate near the 38th parallel. Armistice talks began at Kaesong in July 1951, later moving to Panmunjom. These negotiations would drag on for 2 years amid continued fighting. The UN coalition maintained its multinational character throughout, with troops from Ethiopia, Colombia, and other nations participating in trench warfare until the July 1953 armistice that ended major hostilities but left Korea divided.